Welcome to another episode of what do I call this show again? Oh, Facebook Evilive. Welcome to another episode of Facebook Evilive. I'm your host, Jeff. And yeah, man. So let me fill you in before we get to Bullet for a second. A little update. So initially, this episode was going to be something extra special. I mean, extra special. I started putting together a pre-recorded broadcast, meaning I'm editing it and then I put it in my software and it broadcasts. And it started off as you guys know, we lost Joey Image passed away after a long, brave, courageous battle with liver cancer. And you know, it's kind of amazing because that dude, that dude friggin' he wanted to live, man. He was keeping himself busy painting those drum heads, trying to, raise money and for his treatments. And, I really love what someone said, and it's in the thing that I'm working on right now. Somebody said that the artistry, the craftsmanship in his drum heads is not to be believed. And he's in, liver cancer is painful, and the fact that he was doing all of that in such pain and sharing joy, bringing joy to his fans, and trying to raise money, and I really have an immense amount of respect for Joey Image, and that dude, he struggled with drugs and alcohol, like many do, and it was just amazing to see him clean up his act and fight this battle with cancer. And yeah, man, I just really have a lot of respect, and I'm so sorry for his family and his loved ones. And I think he's survived by a son, and I know he has a niece or a daughter or something, and no, niece, I think. I initially, I went down to Florida to his house to interview him 8 years ago, a long time ago. And that interview, I want to say, I thought it was 2 hours long. I think it's more like 90 minutes long. I have probably the longest interview with Joey Image out there. I don't think anybody's interviewed him longer than I have for this, Misfits related. All never seen. And I hope that it will see the light of day in this documentary. That's my plan to, at least. I will say, at the time, I didn't realize this. He was still in the midst of his battle with drugs and alcohol. And when I went over to his house, he was not. I don't think he was exactly in the clearest of minds, and that might reflect in the interview. That's my biggest fear. But I haven't watched the tape in 8 years, so I don't know. I have to take a look and see what it is and see what I can do with it. I remember getting lots of great sound bites from him, though, and he was a sweetheart. He was so cool. He signed my 2 T-shirts on the back. I didn't want to damage. I didn't want the front. Those two Danzig shirts I have, those Night of the Living Dead and the Beware. I want to get all the whole horror business lineup to sign them, and I had him sign them, and I'm glad I have his signature on there. And as that's like my memento, besides the interview of hanging with Joey. And yeah, he was a real sweetheart to us, even in despite whatever situations and conditions. And I just wanted to say, in his honor, I started doing a tribute to Joey Image. I was like, let me do a tribute, and I reached out to a special guest who I hadn't spoken to in many years, and he agreed to tape a special message. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, maybe it was just like the bug inside of me, but I started culling things from YouTube and various sources that I have, and I started stitching together. Here's the thing. First, it was just supposed to be a retrospective on Joey's time in the band, and then I realized there's not too much on Joey. There's some, and there's some that I want to leave for my documentary. I don't want it to just be all out here, out on the forefront. And so I found some Bobby stuff, and I was like, it'll be, obviously there'll be some stuff on Joey, but it's going to be, how about in Joey's honor, how about a retrospective on the horror business era of the Misfits? And so it's not like a full balls out retrospective. It's it sort of jumps around and there's a lot of great little interesting minutia. The stuff that we all love, that minutia stuff, is in there. It deviates a little bit, in certain areas. There's like bands that contemporary bands that played with the Misfits that I wanted to highlight a little bit. So I go there, and, sort of promoted another band that reminded me of the way that the Misfits played at that time. And so I went there, I put that, just a little smidgen of that in. And I finish it off just sort of going over the timeline of the Misfits from 1979 from Misfit Central. And, of course, what always happens is I bite off way more than I can chew, in the sense that, oh, yeah, I'll get this done by Saturday. And I was like, man, this is not going to be done by Saturday. And, what happened? I like to do a good job. I want to do a good job. I put time and care into some of the things. The thing that I love about these broadcasts is that they're quick and dirty. You know what I mean? You just hop on there. I'm a loud, talkative motherfucker, and so I could just talk for hours, right? But this is something that's way more honed and concise, and then I'm starting to realize, man, you want to know something? Maybe I need to take my time even more with it. So I'm hoping that it'll be ready for next Saturday. That's what I'm really gearing towards. So that way I'm not rushing, and that way I'm like really sort of adding some nice things. And so keep your eyes peeled. I think it's going to be called, I guess, maybe Horror Business, A Year of Punk in 1979, something like that. And it doesn't really, it's more centered on Bobby and Joey than it is Glenn and Jerry. But, and it's sort of, retools a couple of things that I previously have, shared here, or we've done here. But in completely new ways that will be this will be very visually stimulating. It's not just me talking. There's a lot of multimedia that I'm trying to put into this. So, I think you will all really, really appreciate it. And if it's really well received, then I don't know, maybe we could talk about like how to continue that, in the future, because I got to tell you, it takes up, it's a very time consuming thing. There's a lot of, pieces and the culling of the stuff, but we'll see. So there's that. I noticed someone up here said, Michael Graves sucks BBC. Look, I posted for the last time on the page. I'll say it here too. I don't want none of that. I'm not here I don't want to slam Michael Graves. I'm not interested. I've in my limited interactions with Michael Graves, he's been nothing but nice and professional and courteous to me, in truth. However, I listened to his podcast and was deeply disturbed by his beliefs and what I heard, and felt like I had to say something on the page. And so I did. I said my piece. I shared what Howie shared. I thought what Howie did was very brave and very courageous and shows a lot of integrity. And there's that. So let's not bash Michael Graves anymore. I don't know what kind of blowback he will receive from sharing his views, which I completely disagree with. But it's done. It's in the past now. Let's not talk about it anymore. So please, no comments on the page. I don't want to talk about it. We're done. If Michael Graves comes up, he comes up because we're talking about his work with the Misfits. I truly believe in separating the art from the artist. Those songs are still great songs. I have nothing more to say about Michael Graves. That's it. Bullet, real quick. So I was just singing Bullet before, and here's a funny thing about Bullet. You're sitting there listening to the lyrics. It's like, what does he mean? What is he saying? You gotta suck, Jackie, suck. What does that mean? Why is he demeaning Jackie Onassis like that? What is Glenn referring to? And Bullet is written originally. It's a poem. It's a free verse poem that was written 4 years before, 4 years before Bullet was even recorded. So before it was a song, it was a poem. And so after JFK was assassinated, Jacqueline Kennedy married a Greek shipping magnate named Onassis. I don't know if Onassis was Onassis is his last name. I don't know what his first name is. but there is a belief that's actually shared by someone I interviewed, in that, you know, she was very vulnerable. As strong as she was also very vulnerable. You know, her husband was murdered, right, and assassinated in front of her. And you know, there was something with money. There was money problems or money situations. And so when Glenn's singing, "You gotta suck, Jackie, suck," she's referring to Jackie Kennedy marrying this Greek shipping magnate, Onassis, in the idea that she whored herself out, that she, you know, slept with this rich guy for the security after losing her husband. That was the take that I had heard in this interview. I thought that was very interesting. You got to suck, because he's just going on about like you know, Jackie, you know, dry deserts, soaking up rain, soaking up sun. By the way, I always thought when I first heard that song when I was 15 years old, I always thought it was like a jive dancer. Like a jive dancer. And then I guess soaking up rain, soaking up sun. Like a dry desert, soaking up rain, soaking up sun. I always thought it was saying jive dancer. So yeah, there's that. What else? What else can we talk about? I talked about the update on the episode that was supposed to be tonight. A shame. I'm sorry. I tried. Peter says, "I appreciate all your hard work." Thank you, Peter. Peter also says Bullet was for shock value. Yeah, man. Of course, Peter, Bullet was for shock value. But the point is that, like, what is he saying? You know, he's saying, you know, what is he saying about Jackie O? Arise, Jackie O. Jonathan Kennedy will rise and be shot down. Dirt's going to be your dessert. My cum be your life source. And the only way to get it is to suck or fuck. So Onassis's cum is Jackie's life source because she's whoring herself out for his money. So the only way you're going to get it is if you suck and fuck, and then I'll take care of you, baby. And that's what Glenn was saying with Bullet. So yeah. So the last thing, so it's going to be kind of a short episode unless you guys have stuff that you want to talk about. Going to be a short episode. I don't really. Well, here's the thing. So what we're going to do, Peter says, I thought it was his fantasy. You know, Peter, you might be right, man. And maybe it was his fantasy, but, you know, maybe he coveted and lusted after Jackie O. But, you know, she just like married this guy and, like, you know, she threw herself into this guy. I don't know if it was right after. When did she marry Onassis? Let's look this up real quick. Onassis, I know this is so exciting, you guys. This is so exciting. Let's see here. Wikipedia. I mean, I'm sure, you know, I mean, Jackie was like a really, really hot first lady that everybody was into, you know. Yeah, originally it was Bouvier. Later years. When did she marry him, though? Onassis. Ah, wow. Okay. So Kennedy died in 1963. She married Aristotle Onassis in 1968 until his death in 1975. And Onassis was born in 1906. So she married this much older man who was in his 60s at the time when she married him. She was young, dude. She was probably in her 30s when she remarried. So she married this dude who's half her age until his death. And he was fucking rich. He was a rich dude, a shipping magnate from Greece. So yeah. So here's the thing. We're going to conclude our saga with Little Fiend. We have the last episode, which I've never read before. So this is blind for me too. We're going to read this and probably conclude our episode altogether. Again, you know, this is our 12th week doing this, and I didn't want to miss a week. I know we don't always have a lot of people, but I really like doing this. and I'm really starting to develop my podcasting muscle. And so, yeah. So let's get into it. I reached out to Sean, by the way, and I was like, yeah, Peter says sugar daddy. Exactly. She had a sugar daddy. Onassis was a sugar daddy. And Glenn's writing about that. He's writing about, like, Onassis, Jackie O, rise Jackie O. This is what is your fate after your husband has died. That's what Glenn is sort of saying. So I reached out to Sean, who writes Little Fiend, and I said, Sean, you got to keep writing, man. I don't know if this is the last part. This is the last part that we have, but if there's more to this story, you got to tell it. Because, we've been doing this every week. I want to know. I want to know what happens. We're going to find out right now. Maybe it ends here. Maybe it doesn't. But we'll go through it. And that will be that. So, oh shit, who's calling me? No one's calling me. It was WhatsApp. What's up? Okay. Little Fiend, Episode 5. The period between Heartbreak Hotel and Beatlemania was 1956 to 1963. And I suppose that the psychedelic era didn't take hold of the wider public imagination until 1968. But those first 7 years of rock and roll sort of stayed in people's minds as a golden age of pre-hippie romanticism with and for people who never really rebelled against anything, but saw rock and roll as a definitely youthful, but not really anti-establishment. So I think that's an interesting concept, because I guess if you put it that way, then punk rock is not only the second wave of rock and roll. We've talked about this before, how punk rock is all punk rock is rock and roll. It's rock and roll that is anti-establishment. It's rebelling against the status quo. A return to roots, DIY culture, all sorts of jazz. And so it's interesting to think that there wasn't that much, but you have subcultures in England, like the Teddy Boys. They were surely anti-establishment. The Mods were anti-establishment in one way or another, because they sort of went against the status quo. They had their own little, ideologies and subculture and whatever. So that's interesting. I could say a lot more about that, but I'm not going to right now. There's the golden age of pre-hippie romanticism. Interesting. Great writing, Sean. Artie Lang does a great job explaining the mindset of New Jersey music fans of that generation in his biography, Too Fat to Fish. So we're talking about the period of 1956 to 1963 for New Jersey music fans. And Artie Lang explains that for a lot of people like his parents, when the Beatles got weird, most of New Jersey didn't get on the old yellow submarine sandwich, but sort of lived in a musical holding pattern around the time when the public became aware of the existence of Sha Na Na and the magical year of 1969. Let's take that again. So he's saying that people of New Jersey, or in general New Jersey music fans, never got psychedelic with the Beatles. They kept a holding pattern, and they kept that holding pattern of that early era of rock and roll until Sha Na Na in 1969. It's interesting to think that really does. I guess, yeah, right. Heartbreak Hotel is 56, and Beatlemania starts in 63. But I guess rock and roll predates 56 too a little bit. It's not like totally. I don't think it's totally. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. I was only 2 years old, so I don't really know what Sha Na Na's performance at Woodstock did to the public imagination, or if it made much of any impact at all. But 2 years later, an episode of Love American Style aired a short feature called Love and the Happy Days, which was an edited version of an unsold TV series pilot starring Ron Howard and Anson Williams, and the great nostalgia craze for the pre-Beatle the pre-Beatle era of 56 to 63 vomited forth, spurring George Lucas to make American Graffiti in 1973. The smash success of the film caused the original Richie Potsy pilot to be jumped on with both feet by TV executives. Now, this is interesting. So, what he's talking about is essentially the very, very first rock and roll revival. We've had many revivals over the years. In the last 50 years, there have been various revivals of things. In the 90s, there was a swing music revival. Remember that? Remember when Brian Seltzer, whatever his name is, the orchestra guy? Jump and jive and then away. That was popular. Cherry Poppin' Daddies, throw back a bottle of beer. Swing had a revival, and so did ska. Had a few revivals. There was a revival in the late 70s, early 80s, and there was a revival in the 90s that was known as the third wave ska revival. Bands like Goldfinger and Mustard Plug and Sublime, riding that Real Big Fish, all riding that third ska revival wave. So what Sean is talking about is the very first one of these things was in the 70s. In the 70s, nostalgia for the 50s returned. And I think Peter says squirrel nut zippers. Right. That's right. Zoot Suit Riot. That's what it's called. Thanks, Rob. Zoot Suit Riot. Throwback bottle of beer. So, the most popular example of the 50s nostalgia revival in the 70s is probably Grease, right? Grease is like, if you think about it, it's like Grease came out in 77, but the play had been around, I don't know, earlier, since 73, which lines up with what he's saying. Grease was like, Grease is the 50s with 70s sensibilities. Isn't that kind of funny to think about it like that? And this touches back, wow, connections. So this is interesting because this lines up with what Bobby has said about the Misfits. In my third interview with Bobby Steele in 2012, Bobby said that the Misfits were the future of the 50s and the 70s for greasers. What? He said the Misfits were the greasers of the 50s, future in the 70s. Something like that. But it was essentially just saying it's essentially saying that, they were greasers. They were the 70s version of greasers, the Misfits, by way of punk rock, at least at certain points, I would say really more than any time in 1979, 78, 79, 80. Because after that, they were just fully devil-locked. I mean, I guess still, but that's when you think of them in the four leather jackets in 79. That's when they sort of had that kind of going for that Ramones uniform look, except like the Nightmare version of the Ramones. So he's talking about so because of Sha Na Na, this Happy Days pilot takes off and reignites, because that was, Happy Days was huge in the 70s, and Happy Days takes place in the 50s. And I'm sure it's interesting, you have a lot of people that are now in their 40s or, their late 30s, early 40s, maybe even late 40s, wishing it was still the 50s, the idealism of the 50s. And that is kind of like the bedrock for the formation of the Misfits within punk rock. 1974 brought the proto-punk film Phantom of the Paradise, and nobody really gave a shit because in January of that year, Arthur Franzarelli felt like manna from TV heaven. And why I love the Fonz with all of my skeevy, sugar-buzzed heart, I didn't think that the 1950s nostalgia was going to be a part of the future of rock and roll. Okay, so first of all, Phantom of the Paradise is one of my all-time favorite movies of all time. I fucking love this movie. It's directed by Brian De Palma. If you've never seen Phantom of the Paradise, please, please, please seek it out. It is so fucking good. It's just a phenomenal movie. There's a band called the Undeads, which is kind of funny. And there's an idea that Kiss actually got their Kiss and Phantom of the Paradise came out right around the same time, and people are not. It's unsure as to who had that makeup first. The Undeads had Kiss-like makeup. It was really Dr. Caligari, black and white German expressionist face paint on their faces. But then Kiss kind of like did their own thing. They did like animalistic totems with the same makeup. But and also the Phantom has a Darth Vader like chest plate box on his that allows him to speak, which is very, very interesting because you think about how George Lucas and Brian De Palma were friends. George Lucas is floundering a little bit. He does apart from American Graffiti, which was a hit, and probably took great inspiration from seeing that on the Phantom for Star Wars for Darth Vader. So, and the songs are great. They're written by this guy Paul Williams, who wrote the Rainbow Connection. He wrote Carpenter's "Why Do Fools Suddenly Appear," like that whole thing, and it's just it's a fusion of all these amazing classic stories. It's Faust. It's the painting of portrait of Dorian Gray, the Phantom of the Opera, Frankenstein. All set to a backing of rock and roll. And within this, and I think he's about to get in this, and within this, there's a band called the Juicy Fruits. And when the 50s nostalgia is in the movie, and the song opens with the song "Goodbye Forever, Goodbye," or "Goodbye Eddie, Goodbye," and it's just like a 50s doo-wop song, and it's great. Just seek out this movie and watch it. I really, 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 really like it. Peter says, I think Theme for a Jackal is about Ted Kennedy. Yeah, Peter, we talked about this on another episode. That Theme for a Jackal was about Ted Kennedy. We did a whole deep dive on it. I'm not going to do it here now, but yeah. So that was Bob Benkovic, Robbie Bloodshed's dad, put that forth, which I found very interesting. Let's see some of these other comments real quick. Try to stretch this out with some comments, right? Some Kind of Hate really has that vibe. Yeah, if you're talking about the 50s doo-wop vibe, I mean, yeah, of course, man. Like, that's what I'm saying. Remind me sometime to share the. I recorded an a cappella version of Some Kind of Hate that is really fun. You really appreciate it. Jeffrey Moon says, aside from Bullet, She, and Who Killed Marilyn, did Glenn write any other songs about historical figures, incidents? Well, he did write Hollywood Babylon is based on a book of the same name, which is about, Hollywood lore, like lots of gossip. And so there's that. And then what else? Definitely there's more. I'm sure. Well, Horror Business is about Sid and Nancy. I say this like every week because I love saying it, but it's Sid and Nancy juxtaposed with Psycho. It's Sid and Nancy and Psycho. What else is there? Night of the Living Dead is about junkies wandering around on the streets, juxtaposed with zombies. Trying to think if there's anything else specific. Violent World is written about a magazine called Violent World, which Bobby used to have issues of. And on the cover is literally pregnant mothers in Mexico give birth to stillborn monster babies. That's literally where he took the line from. So I'm sure there's there's various other little things, but yeah. Aaron says, I always felt Glenn based his look off of Milner. Milner. Okay, I got to look this up. Who is Milner? Milner. Let's see if you're right. We're going to get back to reading this, you guys. Hold on. Milner. James Milner? You got to clarify for me, Aaron. I don't know who you're talking about. Some soccer player got pulled up. I don't know who Milner is. Okay. So let's see why he brings up Phantom of the Paradise. Nobody really gave a shit about Phantom of the Paradise because in January of that year, Arthur Fonzarelli fell like manna from TV heaven. And while I love the Fonz with all of my skeevy, sugar-buzzed heart, I didn't think that 1950s nostalgia was going to be part of the future of rock and roll. How wrong he was in 1974. How wrong he was. Because as Jerry Ole wants us all to know, hey, guys, I'm Jerry. John Miller, American Graffiti. Okay. I'm sorry. I've never seen American Graffiti. It's on my shame list. You know what a shame list is? A shame list is, it's a shame that you haven't seen it yet. I'm looking this up right now. John Milner, American Graffiti. Let's see. Glenn, let's see first before I talk about, really? Really? You think so? Aaron, I do not agree with that. I don't know, man. He's just a guy in a white t-shirt with rolled up, cigarettes. Glenn took his look actually from Captain Harlock. Take a look at Captain Harlock as a Japanese anime that Glenn was really, really into. At a time where that stuff was very unknown in America. It was very, 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 you had to be super, cultured, subcultured to be into Japanese stuff at that time in America, in Americana. And if you look, Glenn had the Captain Harlock skull, and he started to grow his hair bushy in the front. People say Eddie Munster, people say all these different things, but also Captain Harlock. So I think Captain Harlock was a huge influence. He says early 70s incarnation. Maybe, Aaron. I guess if you're thinking about the Static Age photo shoots, where they're walking around industrial sections of Lodi, kind of, maybe, a little bit. So, yeah, how wrong Sean was that he didn't think, as Jerry only likes to tell us, yeah, Project 1950, don't you know? Rock and roll is the template for punk, blah, And he's right. He's not wrong. He's right. That is the second revolution of rock and roll. A lot more antisocial, a lot more counterculture, a lot more underground. 1974 was the year of Killer Queen, Teenage Rampage, and mere months before Ziggy Stardust would come and bum out the rednecks big time. Because for rednecks, the artier side of rock and roll didn't even exist. I mean, I didn't know a single person who was into Lou Reed, the Dolls, or knew about Destroy All Monsters and other junky music until after Kiss happened. And they only found out about it. They only found out about this stuff because of New York Rock and Roll Scene magazine, who was covering Kiss before they really broke through with Alive. So a lot to digest there. So yeah, so glam, a lot of the punk rockers before they were punk rockers were glam people. Jerry only today likes to go talk about how he saw David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust on that tour, and that's what made him want to be a rock and roller. But Joey Ramone was sang for a glam band. There was glam. Glam was a thing, and at the center, sort of the Venn diagram. Peter, you just said it. I was about to say it. The Venn diagram of both. 3-chord rock and roll, revolutionary, and glam, combining the two things together brilliantly, is the New York Dolls. And the thing about the New York Dolls that makes them so fucking, I mean, they were so ahead of their time. They were a decade early. Every hair metal band in the 1980s is nothing more than a cheap corporate plastic, like just over exaggerated rip off of the New York Dolls, with a Johnny Thunders guitarist and a David Johansen frontman. It's just all bullshit, man. It was all a ripoff. Those guys never got them. And they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. How crazy is that? Green Day is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The Red Hot Chili Peppers are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yet the MC5 are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The New York Dolls are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The Bad Brains are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Such influential bands these were. It's a crime. It's truly a crime. And so, yeah, so the glam thing kind of, you know, and what is glam really doing? It's like it's like a, I was going to say it's a fashion, it's expressing rock and roll through fashion, but I guess that's always been the case. Even in the 60s, people were expressing rock and roll through fashion. That's nothing new. So I'm not even going to go with that statement. I'm going to pull that away, push that away. Rue says more like Eddie Munster. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's obviously Eddie Munster going on there too. It was interesting how they were just evolving this look and this lifestyle. And that's why 1979 is such a pivotal year for the Misfits. It really is. It's a turning point where they go from, you know, trying to figure out who they're going to be and really just running with it. And they do that in 1979. And then, you know, he's talking about New York Rock Scene magazine. You know, back then, how else did you find out about stuff? We didn't have blogs. There wasn't YouTube. There wasn't anything. You found out in rock and roll journalism, you know, and you had it on a bunch of different levels. You had it on the zine level later on, and early you had magazines like Cream and New York Rock Scene magazine and Rolling Stone, you know, just all that stuff. That's how people found out about bands. They saw these guys in these magazines, you know. You could break if you got a lot of radio play and you opened up for the right band and you got seen in the right magazine. Being a rock journalist was a really important, you know, today everybody, I don't want to diminish the arts of photography in the rock and roll sector, but it's really become infiltrated by hobbyists, you know, in the same way that videography has become infiltrated with cell phones. Anybody with a cell phone, you'd be surprised how many people go, oh, I don't need to professionally shoot that. I'll just shoot it with my cell phone. This has 4K, you know? But back then, man, being a rock journalist was like super necessary and important and like just a very specialized niche job that was needed. And then this reference to Kiss, covering Kiss before they really broke through with Alive. Kiss had recorded 3 albums, or 4 albums, I think it was 3 albums, before they finally recorded a live album, which wasn't very live at all. As a matter of fact, most of it was recorded, pre-recorded or recorded in studio. I think the drums were live and everything else was redone. Scandalously, so was It's Alive by the Ramones. So they, but the breakthrough for Kiss was this album called Alive. Okay, moving on. If my scroller will let me scroll. What's going on here? Should I just read from my phone? Maybe. That might be harder. Rue says, the live album is what put me on the map or them on the map. I'm not sure what you're trying to say here. Yeah, this is not, you meant them, yeah. Yeah, man, that was, and they did 4 of them. They did 4 Alive albums, you know, kind of amazing to think. And it was the same thing with the Ramones. It was a big monumental hit for the Ramones, you know, like doing that, the It's Alive album. Something about live albums in the 70s. People wanted them, you know. I guess because, you know, arena rock concerts were really the thing. And it's like, if you don't have the money to go to a concert, but you want that feel, just arena rock it. I mean, just pick up the live album. I love live albums. I think they're great when they're done right. Hold on here. I'm so sorry about this. Let's refind my place. Yes, Rue, I agree. Ramones Alive is awesome, but it's also sad because the only thing, apparently, scandalously, the only thing that is actually live in It's Alive are the drums. Everything was re-recorded in the studio. I know, right? The Ramones, you would think. But yeah, it's not. And if you look at the way Dee Dee is jumping around on that stage with those bass notes, it's heavily... Look, I'm not going to say what is or isn't in Ramones Alive. It's Alive. But I will say this. It's a heavily processed album, which is unfortunate. Sorry, I'm almost here. I'm going on my phone because this is not... Something happened to my computadora. Oh, there it goes. Now it... Wow, this is annoying. Here we go. All right, fuck this computer. Sorry, stay with me one moment. Oh, now it's back. Great. But now it's crashing again. All right, well, we'll just close that up. All right, we're over here now. Never knew that about It's Alive. Bummer, but makes sense. Yeah, Aaron... It is a bummer, man. But back then, again, Tony brought up a great point. Tony Maturo, who did that interview the other week, to get on the radio or to sell an album, you had to have something that was really, really polished. And that's what they would do. They would polish the fuck out of that stuff. Rob says, I heard about Kiss Alive, but wasn't sure if that was a rumor or not. Yeah, Rob, totally true. Kiss Alive... Okay, here we are. I found my place again. We're back to the reading. I mean, I didn't know a single person who was into Lou Reed, the Dolls, or knew about Destroy All Monsters and the other junky music until Kiss happened. And they only found out about that stuff because of New York Rock Scene magazine, like we said. Okay. It was the way that the 1956 to 1963 era was seen that created the major cultural gap between the original 1976 to 1977 punks and the people who would become the second wave of their fans. Wow, that is fascinating. In short, being 20 in 1975 and being 8 in 1975 was the difference between a legitimate love of early rock and roll and being slightly embarrassed by early rock and roll. Because by 1979, it was impossible to not see the world before Beatlemania. Because by 1979, it was impossible not to see the world before Beatlemania as hopelessly square, conservative, and vaguely associated with the Fonzie-esque, cheesy cool because of the crap like American Graffiti and Happy Days. So, Sean and Glenn come from two different generations. Glenn grew up in the era when that music was king, and Sean grew up when it became nostalgia. And what is anything nostalgia? Nostalgia is for older people, generally speaking. So, of course it's going to be uncool to disenfranchised teenagers, which therein lies the rift that he's talking about in the previous episodes, where Glenn thinks Elvis is legitimately cool, while Sean thinks Elvis is a joke, is a goof. And that is the difference. Somehow, against all odds, the Misfits personified everything about 50s nostalgia that the rock and roll... Sorry, I messed this up. I am the worst. I am really the worst. Ready? The Misfits personified everything about 50s nostalgia that the Rocky Horror Picture Show got so horribly wrong. I disagree, man. Those songs are fucking great. And, I would say Phantom of the Paradise, which was also a midnight movie like Rocky Horror, is its spiritual cousin, which predates Rocky Horror by a year. In fact, a good way to judge how somebody would react to Minor Threat just a few years later was to ask them how they felt about Rocky Horror. You see, Darby Crash was gay, but Rocky Horror was for FAGS. And when he says that word, I think he's not saying it like he's saying that. I think he's saying that in the way it was viewed at the time. I know it sounds horrible now, but this is how we viewed the world. So there you go. He's giving context. Again, I'm not an apologizer. I believe in context, right? As you notice, I spell out the word. I don't say it because I know it's a very hurtful, harmful word, especially today. But the point is that we still need to have the context of these things and these ideas and however ugly they may be. Biscuits from the Big Boys was gay, but Rocky Horror was for FAGS. So he's trying to say that there's a difference between being gay and being into some FAGS stuff, or that stuff was for FAGS, as if there was a connotation in the same way that maybe Chris Rock did that. I'm not going to even say the sketch, but he does a sketch where he's differentiating between two types of people that he is very familiar with. And it's got layers, that joke. That joke has many, many layers. On the surface, though, it's... Oh, shit, did I leave this camera charging overnight? That was stupid of me. On the surface, though, it's, one thing, but underneath it's another. He says, sorry, not sorry. It was the way the Misfits made 50s nostalgia demented, scary, and very, very hateful that made the Midwest the first area of the United States to understand the band and recognize the musicality that now makes them classic rock in the same way that Bowie is or Kiss is. Whoa, let's take that again one more time. Sorry, not sorry. It was the way the Misfits made 50s nostalgia demented, scary, and very, very hateful that made the Midwest the first area of the United States to understand the band and recognize that the musicality that now makes them classic rock the same way Bowie is or Kiss is. The difference was that the Misfits were the true soundtrack to our arty Fight Club. The scene that sprung up when Kiss fans realized that they were not going to wake up tomorrow and have a girlfriend who looked like Stevie Nicks. Ooh. Oh. That is brutal. Take that one more time. So he's talking about, he's relating it in the idea of I guess in the way that Fight Club sort of encapsulates, this brotherhood of male toxicity and machismo and whatever you want to call it in 1999. In a way, the Fight Club back then was almost like 80s hardcore. And it was for guys. It was the scene that sprung up when Kiss fans realized that they were not going to wake up tomorrow and have a girlfriend who looked like Stevie Nicks. Maybe guys who couldn't really get girls of that caliber or were not, the right type for girls of that caliber. Let's just put it that way. The Misfits are what happens when you realize that you are most certainly not going to rock and roll all night and party every day. Whoa. Hang out in a graveyard and practice stage dives off of tombstones? Yes. Wow. I wonder when that was. Hang out in a graveyard and practice stage dives off of tombstones. I wonder if that was, could that have been in New Orleans? Could that have been some in the local Lodi cemetery? Who knows? Cut the heads off of dead cats to make decorations for your big black motorcycle boots? Yes. Yes. Okay. So Sean is saying that the band would collect dead cats and cut the heads off of them to make decorations for their big black motorcycle boots. The fucking Misfits, man. And that's it. It ends. So as it turns out, there is no ending to Little Fiend, sadly. After 5 parts, there's no fucking ending. And as I said, I spoke to Sean and was like, dude, you got to write some more. And I'm assuming this is not the end, and he never answered the question as to whether it was the end or not. I invited him to come on the show for an interview, and he said it was he was he very much politely declined. We chatted for a little bit. Very nice guy. But I'm going to see if I can get him on here, because it'd be great to just hear him talk and not just his writing. Let's hope we get some more parts. Those last ones were written 3 years ago, so we're due for some more. But that concludes the series for now. So that's it. That's the end of Little Fiend, sadly. And man, if we don't talk for the next 10 minutes, and this will be the shortest episode yet in 12 episodes, which would also be a shambolish shame. So does anybody else have anything that they would like to add, maybe about what we read? Any questions about the project, the retrospective horror business? That's it. I'm officially titling it. It's called Horror Business, A Year of Punk in 1979. That's what I'm going to call. That's what I'm going to call it. Rue says, burnt my apartment down in 1979 thanks to watching Kiss on PBS Network. Then Ramones the same year on the Uncle Floyd show, fans ever since. And the Misfits fit right in when I heard them on WFMU radio back in 1987. So here's something interesting that Rue brings up. First of all, he watched the Ramones on the Uncle Floyd show. The Misfits were also on the Uncle Floyd show. But it's interesting that it wasn't until 1987 that he had even heard of the Misfits, which goes to show that, the Misfits, for, whatever splash they made at the time, were a very, very underground thing. They were a very underground thing. You could watch, Rue is proof that you could watch the Uncle Floyd show when it was on and still not have the Misfits on your radar by simply just not catching the broadcast. Uncle Floyd, apparently those tapes exist somewhere. I have a story about Uncle Floyd that Rocky tells about Doyle and Uncle Floyd. I don't know how interesting it is, but yeah, I am actually kind of burnt, caked, tired. As I said, I bought a new hammock and slept in that, fell asleep in the hammock, so I'm like kind of sleepy. Anything else, guys? Anything else? Oh, I know. Hey, if you guys enjoyed this broadcast, would you please go to Frumess.com, click on some ads, put some pennies in my ad space account, the whole rigmarole jazz. It'd be much appreciated. And yeah, again, about the Michael Graves thing, like I said, I'm not here to bash Graves, but I totally do not agree with his politics or his statement. And I thought what he said on his podcast was absolutely disgusting and terrible. And I hope that he gets enlightened and, more educated on the way things are. I think his words come from a place of incredible ignorance. And I'd like to hope, based on what Howie, his bass player for Nimvind, said, that he is indeed, Howie claims he's never heard any sort of language like that from Michael. And, as I said, when you're on tour with someone 24/7, you see the best of them and the absolute worst of them. And so for anybody, so unless he's covering for Michael, which I don't think he would be, I take him for his word for it. So, yeah, just wanted to state that. Okay, then that's it. No more. I don't even know why I brought that up again. I think you guys are going to really dig this episode next week. I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm trying to make it as long as possible. It's going to be like a movie. It's going to be like movie length, maybe. And I don't know, anything else? See if I can pull something up on here. Anything else? Anything else? Talked about a lot today. Man, I'm gonna be pissed if that's the way that Little Fiend ends. You know, we need more. Sean, write some more. God damn it. What is this? What is this right here? Oh, interesting. John Zeno says Uncle Floyd was taped at the Channel 68 studios in Paterson, New Jersey, later to become U68, which eventually was better than MTV as far as metal punk videos. They played shit MTV wouldn't even consider. Yeah, that's interesting. There was a lot of stuff that did not get on MTV. I mean, prime example, there was the whole Mother controversy with Danzig. Peter asked, did I hear Harpies in the Night? I mean, I don't know if you caught the earlier episodes of this show, Peter, but we went over all of this stuff. I honestly am so tired of talking about it. Not like in a bad way. I just I'm all talked out. I talked about it. Go back and listen to those episodes. I would say episodes 1 through 5 cover all of that stuff. And episodes 1 through 3 cover the really good stuff. We talked about Harpies extensively there. Sing like harpies in the night. Well, that's one. That's the Stevie Lynn Harpies in the Night. And then apparently what I heard was, I'll rip my guts out for you. Yeah, man. Harpies in the Night. Peter says, I heard that there is an audio tape of the Misfits on Uncle Floyd. Yeah. So there is an audio tape. Well, here's the thing. We don't know if the archive still exists or not. We don't know. Floyd is a stickler for letting his stuff go out there. He's still around. He does special appearances and stuff as Uncle Floyd. And he's like public access TV for people who don't know. And lots of punk bands used to go on the Uncle Floyd show, including the Misfits, the Ramones, Adrenaline OD. And he had a puppet named Oogie. And it was like a kiddie show, but it was also like a punk rock public access show. There's actually something very similar in Chicago called Chicky A Go-Go. So check that out. They have like interesting bands and stuff. It's kind of my dream. Before all this took place, I kind of want to do that myself, like be like an Uncle Floyd type guy and have bands come on a show in a way that's kind of like what Rock and Roll Cooking could have been. Sort of. We were sort of trying to do that. And we had, we did 15 episodes and it took a lot to produce that show and a lot of coordination. Supposedly that episode's master tape was chewed up not too much later, says John. Yeah, but I've heard rumors that the audio still exists somewhere. So who knows, man? Maybe we will hear it someday. There's so many unreleased gems out there. There's the Night of the Living Dead music video Umatic tape in the possession of Corey Rusk of the Necros, which the Misfits film that's sometime in 1981 or 1982. That might be what Sean was referring to when he was talking about stage diving off of tombstones in the cemetery. So yeah, who knows? Also, what else was I going to say? That supposedly there is tape there was tape the very first night they played at CBGB's, which, by the way, I was reviewing something, and Glenn claims they did 3 CBGB showcases, not 2. So there might have been a third show, which is why, as much as I love Misfit Central, and there'll be plenty of Misfit Central in next week's episode, you really don't know. Peter says they need to release an updated Misfits box set with Manny's tapes on it. I can't talk about this publicly, and it's not like to try and sound fucking cool, Oh, it was? John says the audio portion of the Uncle Floyd show, Uncle Floyd show with the Misfits was on YouTube. John, Are you sure about that? I feel like I would have caught that. I don't think it was. Are you sure, man? What Peter says about an updated Misfits box set with Misfits tapes on it. All I'm going to say is this, and this is not to sound fucking like trying to sound cool or hip or in or whatever. All I'm going to say is that I took, at the time, this was about 3 years ago, I took serious steps to help facilitate that process and make that happen. And I won't go into the details of how or why or who or what or where, but attempts were made. And I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know. Yeah, who fucking knows? I don't know. What the fuck do I know? Again, I'm just, as I said the very first time I started doing this broadcast, I'm just a fucking guy who loves the Misfits and loves talking about this shit. That's all I am. So, okay, we hit that hour mark. That's good. You guys got anything else for me, or are we done here? Should we wrap it up? Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, man, there's some. Oh, God, I got to tell you, there's two sections of this of next week's episode that I'm like, I think you're gonna really like. Again, it's like, it's kind of fun because it's like I really have to think outside of the box in order to like sort of recreate what I'm trying to recreate. It's not like, it's not like exact, Andy Halloween says the Uncle Floyd audio is the real deal, but the video doesn't circulate. Andy, did you get to hear the Uncle Floyd audio for the Misfits? John says, I found it years ago, haven't found it again. Jerry's skull on the hook headstock went flying. Man. Pete says, I think the Misfits lip synced on the Uncle Floyd show. I distinctly remember hearing that too. Or I think all the bands lip synced on the show a little bit. But maybe is the audio that you guys are referring to, is this audio supposed to be like the interview part of it, or is it like the what kind of part of it is it? Oh, Andy, we gotta talk, buddy. Let's talk, Andy. I'm coming for you, Andy. They did the lip sync. Oh, so it's just lip sync. Oh, all right. I got to hear that interview. What, you ripped it from YouTube? Oh my God. I got to hear that shit. I've got to hear it, Andy, so I can talk about it here. I downloaded it on SoulSeek like 20 years ago. Yeah, I feel like maybe I have seen and heard this from like a long, long time ago. Because like, man, like 15, 12, I will, Andy. I'll PM you. I will. Floyd mentions during his portion of the segment that it flew off. Can you fix that? Is it broken? Yeah, I want to hear the interview. I wonder if I have. Maybe I have. Maybe I haven't. I don't remember it. It's funny, especially with the Misfits Central stuff. You can pour over this stuff and pour over it and pour over it, and you fucking like you just forget it. I'm the one that shared it on YouTube, and then it was taken down by the boss man. Oh wow, yeah, man. Floyd is a stickler, man. He doesn't want any of his shit on there, and so he takes it down. He takes it the fuck down. That motherfucker. So yeah. Still got 8 people on here. You guys have anything else you want to discuss? Anything else we should talk about? Anything worth mentioning? I don't think so. I don't know. This always happens at the end of the broadcast. Is like, all of a sudden I get slews of comments, and then we riff on the comments, and it's good. Rob says, I heard a story years ago on the 7th House message boards that Danzig saved Marilyn Manson from Sharon Osbourne's goons on the Ozfest tour back in the day. Does that sound familiar? Never heard that story. Wow, what is that all about? Oh, I have a story, though. I have a fucking story for you guys. All right, you want a story? Andy says, glad you're doing a Joey thing. Looking forward to that. You know, Andy, it is a Joey thing, but it's more than a Joey thing now. It's become more of a retrospective. It's going to have to be a lot. I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the episode, but if you go back and listen to the beginning of the episode, you'll be able to. I talked about it at great length and what it's about and what's up with it. John asks, when is my Joey tribute airing? It's going to be. It's for next week, next Saturday. I'm going to promote the fuck out of this. You know what? I'm going to create a Facebook event for it and invite all of you guys. How about that? That's what we're going to do. So let's do that. Rob, I haven't heard that story though about Sharon Osbourne. But here is a great Danzig tidbit. Ready? This is going to be really funny. This is fucking funny. So a long time ago, for this documentary, I interviewed Evil Presley and Willie B. And Willie B and Evil Presley, if you don't know, are the nucleus of the band The Independents, who really, when you think about this modern sort of era of horror punk or whatever you want to call it, they are really the first. They go back to 92. If you think about it, I don't know, and I'm sure there's a bunch of bands in between what I'm about to say, but you have like The Independents, then you have Blitzkid, you have Mr. Monster, the Green Goblin Project is somewhere, the Crypt Keeper 5, the 95 Misfits, who, by the way, here's another thing that I would like to say that I'd like to acknowledge too. The 95 Misfits are kind of a Christian metal band, a little bit, in the sense that they are a continuation of Christ the Conqueror. The band was called Christ the Conqueror, spelt all differently. A lot of the music from Christ the Conqueror was repurposed into American Psycho songs. And there are about 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 songs that are absolutely written about Christianity, specifically about Jesus Christ. In resurrection, in the rapture, all sorts of stuff. Dig up her bones. Point me to the sky above. I can get there on my own. You know? Stuff like that. There's talk about Dead King's Rise. It's subversive. It's not, someone on the page said, oh, I feel duped. It's not duped. Those songs are great. And this is not a knock on religion in any way. I got no beefs or qualms with any religion. I love religion. Whatever. Religion is religion. Neither here nor there. My point is simply this. The fucking New Misfits are kind of a Christian metal band in a weird way. Even, Doyle's guitar is kind of metal. You know what I mean? Rob says it really is the anti-Danzig. It is, man. Which I suppose, and I don't think Danzig, do you think that Danzig really knew that they were writing about like Christian themes through misfit like topics, or trying to be this misfit formula? Because that's what Jerry's going to go. All right, we gotta get the misfit formula down. Let's do the misfit formula. Let's do the misfit formula. All right, get a song title. All right, good, yeah. Oh, we got Walk Among Us, yeah, because we have an album called Walk Among Us. That's it's just kind of like, it's just kind of funny. It's truly ironic that, because Glenn's pissed at Jerry and Doyle for bringing the band back, but not only that, they've made it Christian, or put Christian themes in the music, which I'm sure made Danzig very mad, because we know how Danzig feels about, Christianity and religion. So that's interesting. That's an interesting thing that sort of like came out with all that stuff, that controversy this week, that sort of bubbled to the surface of like, this has always been there. This has been there for 25 years. People just never realized it. It's always been there. Subversive. What is subversive? It's stuff that's under the surface, that something that sort of like hitchhikes on another message, you know? And it's interesting. It's an interesting thing to think about in that sort of way. So there's that. And there was one other thing I was going to say about, we talked about that. I was going to say what? Oh, the story. I'm so sorry. I am the worst storyteller. Okay. So Willie B, I was talking about the tutelage. The tutelage. Andy says, I never thought about that before. Andy, I'm telling you. Okay, hold on. Again, by the way, I'm like afraid people are going to think that like I'm like attacking Christianity or hate religion or something. I'm nothing. No, so not the case. I just want to make that clear. So not like trying to like say that. I'm just saying like the truth. It's just observations when you listen to the stuff. Hold on. Let's pull this up real quick. This is so funny to me. Here's what I wrote. Some songs about Christianity. Seriously, these are songs about Christianity in the Misfits. Ready? Dig Up Her Bones, Blacklight, Descending Angel, Speak of the Devil, Resurrection, possibly Day of the Dead, Don't Open Till Doomsday, and Dead Kings Rise. Don't Open Till Doomsday and Day of the Dead are the Rapture, right? Resurrection is Resurrection. It's about fucking Jesus coming back. I'm telling you, dude, it's so fucking funny. John says, after the Resurrection tour, they definitely went for a kinder, gentler Misfits. If you go back and look at the illustrations on the merchandise of the Crimson Ghost, the skull is definitely softer around the edges. You're so right. Well, John, it's not that it's softer on the edges. It's Basil. They have Basil Gogos, the famous Monsters of Filmland guy. They're really banking on the 1960s Monster Magazine ability of the Misfits. That was just one aspect of the original Misfits, along with all the other shit that Danzig had in there. This is something, this is Jerry going like, let's keep this like Saturday morning serial cartoons. John says there's a lot of stuff in there. Jerry humping in interviews that people were bringing their kids to the shows. Yeah, it's true, man. No, they changed the illustration. Oh, John, are you referring to, John, you're referring to later, you're referring to the Jerry fits when Jerry, so that's interesting. Let me explain that. So you know what that's about actually? And then I'll get back to my independent story, since we found a little topic here to riff off of. That later edition, first of all, Project 1950s, there's a little Igor guy on the front with a Misfits hoodie on, turning on the Project 1950 sign. That is the first in a series or one of many attempts of Jerry trying to rebrand the Misfits image or the Misfits logo, moving away from the Crimson Ghost for a bunch of reasons. One, probably red tape with the original Republic cereal or whatever that is. I know a lot of people think it's in public domain. It's not. So I don't know if they're licensing it or if they purchased the trademark or how that works. I've heard like every, keyboard lawyer explain to me how and what it is, but I honestly don't know. I don't think any of us really know. The deal, the rights are so tangled. Then here's what John's referring to. John is referring to this sort of, it was for Psycho in the Wax Museum, which was just Jerry scraping the bottom. Jerry, I love you, man, but come on. We got to talk about this stuff. This is just Jerry scraping the bottom of the fucking barrel. He's got nothing. He's got no fucking recordings. And there's like this, he pulls up these two instrumentals. One is Psycho in the Wax Museum, which was never recorded vocals for it. And the other one was Spider Baby, I think, which was a Dr. Chud song. And if you look at the Fiend on that cover, he's got like sort of a cartoon face. And then Jerry would do it again with the Devil's Reign. And this is Jerry trying to, at that point, that's Jerry trying to continue the brand without having to cut in Danzig or deal with Danzig or get into lawsuits with Danzig or whatever the situation is. He's trying to move the Misfits. He's trying to take complete ownership and control of the licensing of the Misfits and separate it and make it more kid-friendly. John says, no, man, go back and look at some of the shirts through the 90s. John, are you talking about like those classic designs they did, like where he's like on the carriage and whatnot? He's on like the carriage with the two horses. I mean, yeah, probably that too. But my point, but what you've brought up is this sort of quest. That was one of Jerry's many quests. Besides getting into wrestling, he also had Jerry would also got into. He was obsessed with trying to write a song for horror movie soundtracks, and there's a bunch of songs. Scream was for Scream, the movie Scream. Mars Attacks for the movie Mars Attacks. He wrote it based on the trading card set, which was being turned into a movie at the time. Because in his mind, The Secret, which he probably thought about the song Night of the Living Dead, because in his mind, that the secret was to get on movie soundtracks, tie in licensing and publishing and whatnot. He tried it again with Land of the Dead. And there was and Twilight of the Dead, because he had read probably that George Romero originally was going to call his movie Twilight of the Dead, and then he rewrote the song again, Land of the Dead, when it switched to Land of the Dead. I mean, he was like chasing a fucking dragon. What other? Oh, there's Bruiser is written for the movie Bruiser, but that was in a collaboration with George Romero. George directed their music video, and they appeared in George's movie. Trying to think. It's funny that they didn't use the Misfits, but they did use Creed. Yeah. I love those Scream movies, though. Scream is like my Halloween. So Scream is like my Halloween, and Sidney Prescott is my Laurie Strode. In the same way that Jurassic Park is my Jaws. Right next to Jaws, of course, because I grew up on Jaws as well as a child of the 90s. John says, Scream the movie absolutely sucks. Mainstream horror absolutely goes against classic Misfits mantra. Glenn was the fan, as we know. I'm going to have to disagree with you there, John. I think Scream is great. I love Scream. It's a perfect slasher film. Masterpiece. And it could just be that, I know that you were sort of around in the 80s, doing your thing in the 80s, and this was a 90s thing, and maybe it just didn't connect with you when it came out at that time. But for me, it was something that informed me greatly growing up. Andy says Friday the 13th. He wanted to submit something for the remake. Wow! So that's where the Friday the 13th song comes from, right? That's so crazy, man. Jerry is so fucking funny, dude. Jerry is so funny. See, Rob says Jamie Lee Curtis, Nev Campbell. Bro, Nev Campbell is my forever love. That fucking Rolling Stone issue, the Rolling Stone issue from 1997, the cover story. Hold on, let's scroll back up. Andy Halloween says it was fine to do new designs and stuff, but the back and forth erasing history thing was the only thing I had a problem with. Jerry changing the static age cover on shirts was bad. Glenn erasing Jerry off the Halloween on the shirt, that stuff. Yeah, man. Yeah, well, Jerry did a lot of historic revision. Again, we're not bashing Jerry only. We love you, Jerry. We love you, Uncle Jerry. You're the best. You are, man. You are. My interaction with you was excellent. You are a fucking great guy. Just want to put that out there in case somebody from his camp watches this and is like, fuck that guy. Disable his Facebook page. But yeah, he was doing revision. He revised a lot there was a lot of fucking revision. There was a lot of revision. And yeah, that comes from likeness issues. Glenn couldn't put Jerry on a shirt, and Jerry couldn't put Glenn on a shirt. And at one point, Jerry couldn't put Doyle on a shirt. So it's just Jerry. So Jerry, it's Jerry playing shows wearing a t-shirt of Jerry on the cover. Although it's not really Jerry. It's kind of like I guess it is Jerry, but it's kind of like a generic, like, Fiend, with the wrestling tassels on the sides. But yeah, that was his golden goose. Let me get my song on a soundtrack. He just had to do that, and it never happened, except for Bruiser with George Romero. It was the only time, I think. I'm trying to remember. Rob Zombie used Halloween, but that was with Glenn Danzig. That wasn't with Jerry. Jerry didn't get to wet his beak at that, unless apart from mechanical royalties. Aaron Krieger says, "What's up, Aaron? How are you, my friend?" Aaron says, Peter Roll Off. It used to be online. Not sure if I ever downloaded it, but I don't think it is anymore. Nothing really exciting there. I guess he's referring to the Uncle Floyd. Oh, right, Dark Shadows, too. That's right. Yeah, he wrote a song for Dark Shadows. Great call, Peter. John says, I met him in Miami during the Resurrection Tour. He mentioned Mars Attacks was slated to be the film, but Burton was slated to be in the film, but Burton didn't use it. Yeah, man, he just, yes, that's right. We all love Jerry. This is just a mega Misfit nerd discussion because that's what we are. We're Misfits nerds. And what is my mantra? Misfits nerds are the Misfits fans are the Star Wars nerds of the music world. Kiss nerds too, man. I feel like people that are, I'm not a big Kiss guy, but I feel like there's a special brand of music nerd for Kiss. Even like, like Axemen, like that should be embarrassed to like listen to Kiss, for what Kiss is. Like are unabashed Kiss fans, unapologetic Kiss fans. Cause it's kind of lame to like Kiss. In a way, Kiss is almost like the ICP of classic rock, right? They're kind of like the Insane Clown Posse of classic rock in a weird kind of way. I don't know. I don't freaking know. John says only episodes 4, 5, and 6, sir. I'm not sure what you're referring to, John. Are you referring to Halloween? Or are you referring to of this show 4, 5, and 6? What is that about? This was fun. I'm glad that this has sort of grown into just a bunch of stuff. This is not just about, usually we just keep it about 77 to 83, but with I guess with the recent news in the air, the Resurrected Misfits have seeped into my Resurrected Misfits knowledge is not as my Resurrected Misfits game is not like the other, not like my fandom for the original stuff, obviously. Fiendcast Roy from Fiendcast says he loves Kiss. That's great. Here's the thing. By the way, I just want to say one thing. Two things. First of all, I love Love Gun. That song, Love Gun, is a fucking scorcher song. I love a lot of songs. I love Black Diamond is a great fucking Kiss song. I like Dr. Love, like anything that was in fucking Detroit Rock City. Why? Because I think in my mind, and I say this as a non-Kiss fan or as a very casual listener of Kiss, Detroit Rock City is one of my all-time favorite movies. And for many, many years, I used to always sort of like, it was never perfect for me because I always wished that it was about the Ramones. I was like, I wish it was more like a rock and roll high school thing with the Ramones. Why did they have to be seeing Kiss? But, now I've really grown to just appreciate that it's about Kiss. Because Kiss was kind of counterculture for the mainstream, in a way. And it's just a fucking great fucking movie, and Love Gun is a great fucking song. Andy says 70s Kiss rules. Yeah, man, that's the era, man. The 70s, and I got to tell you, there is a performance that Kiss does in 75, like brand new Kiss, like they've only been together for a little bit, and they play Black Diamond, and I had never heard the song before, and I was like, damn, fucking Peter Criss knows how to sing. They don't give Peter Criss enough credit. They friggin' especially Paul Stanley feels so threatened by Peter Criss's contributions to that band. But you listen to him belt out that tune on Black Diamond, and you're like, man, fuck yeah, that's why Peter Criss is so great. And just the moves that they would do, the coordinated moves. The Misfits, there's that show from Bethlehem, Halloween 1982, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and you could see Jerry and Doyle trying to coordinate like Johnny Ramone and Dee Dee Ramone doing the up flank, upstage shift and backstage shift, and they're trying to copy it, kind of like Kiss moves in the same way that Kiss does with the guitar. They go during Black Diamond. Hold on, I missed a lot of comments here. Let's rewind this a little bit. Roy said he loves Kiss. Rue says, no way, man. ICP sucks. Okay, here's the thing. I'm not a fan of ICP. Insane Clown Posse, not a fan. Don't like them. Don't like their music at all. But the culture, they have an army. Kiss has an army. There's the face paint aspect. Kiss sells millions of albums. It's unbelievable how much music Kiss has sold over the years. ICP sells million. ICP is one of the most successful. They are some of the most successful independent music artists of all fucking time, whether you love them or hate them. And they have a whole subculture, the psychopaths, the psychopathic subculture. And I'll be honest with you, I would love to go to a gathering of the Juggalos, not as a music goer and not as a fan, but as a journalist, as a documentarian of a subculture that is the Juggalo. And I think that in the same way that, you know, people look down on ICP in the same way that Rue just did, and people look down on Kiss in the same way. They do. They look down on Kiss. They're like, you know, Kiss is kind of an embarrassing thing, you know, for people to sort of like look at. And so that's why I say that Kiss is the 70s. Kiss is the classic rock version of ICP in a weird kind of way. Fiendcast, with a Misfits poster in the background. What do you mean by that, Fiendcast? I don't know what that comment is related to. What else we got here? John says, Kiss is untouchable until 1980. Horror influence, especially the Destroyer era stage show with Gene's Belfry Tower, is amazing. Yeah, man. I mean, they put out a ton of fucking albums before 1980. You know, that original lineup would just, the amount of output was incredible. I mean, what was it, like in 5 years they put out like 7 or 8 albums, I think, something like that. If you include the live album, how many albums got put out before 1980? Point is that, yeah, man, a lot of that material is fucking great. It's fucking great. Like not like not knocking it. Really not. 80s Kiss is a whole nother animal that we're not going to talk about because we've gotten so far off topic here. Yeah, Black Diamond, man. Doyle loved Kiss. Yeah, Doyle is a huge Ace. Doyle is a huge Paul Stanley fan and played an Iceman. You know, there's the Iceman. John says it's called Kiss Swerve. I don't know what you mean by that, John. There's a huge fan lineage between the original Alice Cooper lineup, Kiss, and the Misfits. John, I would love for you to break that down for me. I think I know what you're trying to say. What you're trying to say is that it's sort of I'm trying to like think about that. That's a profound observation, I think. There is a huge fan lineage between the original Alice Cooper lineup, Kiss, and the Misfits. Well, as we know, Bobby Steele is like a diehard Alice Cooper fan. Doyle is as we just said, is a huge Kiss fan. And, you know, if you think about it, they're all shock rockers to an extent. I saw someone mention above that they love the Stooges. I fucking love, Peter says, I love the Stooges. Peter, the Stooges are one of my bands. Quick story. We still have to get to the Independents, by the way. Quick story. See that? That right there is 16 years old. And the reason why I chipped my tooth is because I saw the Stooges at Little Steven's Underground Rock Garage Festival with the New York Dolls, the reformed New York Dolls, the Strokes, Nancy Sinatra played, Bo Diddley played, the Ravenettes played, the Pretty Things played, Chocolate Watch Band played, lots of garage rock stuff played, the Dictators played, and during Real Cool Time, No Fun, Real Cool Time Stooges songs, in the pit, somebody rocked me right in the fucking mush, shattered my tooth right there. I thought that someone's watch had broken off in my mouth. I thought it was a plastic watch. I thought all these fragments of tooth spit it out into my hand. And I was like, fuck yeah! And I just kept moshing, man. It was a great time. And another time I got up on stage and I jumped on Iggy. Everybody was jumping on Iggy during same exact songs 3 years later at the Congress Theater, RIP, in Chicago. And I was this close to Ron Ashton as he was jamming out, and Mike Watt. Hard to believe those dudes are not around anymore. Ron, the Ashton brothers are gone, the Dum Dum Boys. But yeah, love the Stooges. Big Stooges guy. Matter of fact, I think Stooges and Kiss actually shared a bill at one time. Let's see what else we got here. Guys, I'm losing my voice. Yeah, Jerry and Doyle used to go to, when they first were trying to come back and like were dressing up in their garb, they were going to Kiss They were going to Kiss conventions dressed as the Misfits. Isn't that so funny? It's like Jerry just like, who wants to take a picture with me? I'm Jerry Oley. John says, Kiss released an album every 6 months between comps and original LPs. They broke their asses. Yeah, man, it's true. Listen, those guys are hard-working dudes. Can't deny that. John says, the Kiss Fits. The Kiss Fits. So the Kiss Fits is funny. The drummer of the Kiss Fits, Chuck Chris Fits. So like Peter Chris and Chuck Biscuits, Chuck Criskits. So funny. Fiendcast says, Creatures of the Night is one of my faves. Their best effort without Peter and Ace. Fiendcast, Roy, to each their own, friend. I don't think I've ever listened to Creatures of the Night. Maybe I will for shits and giggles just to see what it's all about, you know. But that is those are some waters I've never waded through. 80s Kiss. Woo! That's a spicy meatball right there. John says, if you ask someone about Alice Cooper, they will immediately mention Kiss and then Misfits. Wow. That's interesting, John. Okay. That makes sense. So you're saying that there's a connection in terms of what people like between Kiss, Alice Cooper, and the Misfits. And I guess that makes sense when you think about like everything that, you know, when you think about all that stuff, it makes sense. Rue says Iggy is our Jesus. That's right. Iggy, I saw the Stooges covered with bruises. John says Iggy is a huge personality. He lives in Miami. At one point, I literally ran into him 6 times in a year. Wow. I saw him the Saturday morning of his 65th birthday. I said, hey, Ig, happy birthday. He was not pleased. Probably because you called him Ig. When he is not on stage, he is not Iggy. He is Jim Osterberg. Hey, it's me, Jim. Hi, I'm Jim Osterberg. Yeah, Jim Osterberg is not Iggy Pop. 2 separate people. Guys, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to wind this down. This was a lot of fun. I really want to say thank you to everybody for the conversation. I really, by the way, if you want some great Iggy Pop stories, especially just look up Henry Rollins talking about why Iggy Pop is the true king of rock and roll, of which he's correct, by the way. And you will, his story about trying to outdo Iggy at a festival is the best. It's the best. It's one of the best spoken word things out there. Definitely check it out. Andy says I met them at the Kiss Expos. They were selling skateboards for $50. I wish I bought every single one. Andy, how much do those skateboards go for now? Yeah, that's funny. So they somehow had those. They wrestled those skateboards from Glenn, and then they wrestled those skateboards from Glenn, and then went to the Kiss convention selling Misfits merch. I mean, it makes sense if you think about it, like, because, you know, as we just said, there's overlap there. But it's just funny, like, we're not going there to sell Kiss merch. We're going to sell Misfits merch. You know, the Misfits could probably do their own convention if they really wanted to. Whoa. Oh, my God. Jerry Only, what are you up to right now, man? What about the Misfits cruise? I bet Glenn would be thrilled with the Misfits cruise, right? Peter says he stole the original Stooges tapes to give back to Iggy. Who? Who stole the original Stooges tapes to give back to Iggy? What you talking about? What you talking about? Wow, $1,000 for those skate decks now. Wow. $50 sounds like, I was about to say $50. That sounds steep, especially in the 90s. Jesus Christ. $1,000, man. Holy hell. You know, I got to tell you, it is not a bad, it is a good idea to buy Misfits vinyl. That appreciates. That appreciates well. Rollins stole the original Stooges tapes to give back to Iggy. Okay. Peter, do me a favor. I desperately want to hear that interview. Is it like a YouTube interview? If you could track that down and post it here in the comments, I would be eternally grateful, because I would love to read that. Would love to. John says no, he wasn't pleased that he was 65. Yeah, of course, sure, but John, he hates being called Iggy. I think he's Jim, man. You know who knew him for quite a spell was Pete Damian Marshall. Pete, who played in his band The Trolls. He wrote a bunch of songs with Iggy. Blood on Your Cool. Yeah, man. Pete toured the world. Pete didn't do the Samhain reunion because he was with Iggy. What a gig. And Pete claims that had Mike Watt not ingratiated himself with Ron Ashton, that he would have been the shoo-in for the Stooges reunion. Could you imagine that? That Pete Damian Marshall would have actually played bass. And I believe it. I believe it. He had to track down the masters. Wow. Well, they did a 50th anniversary remix of the original. No, sorry. They didn't do a remix. They restored the original John Cale mix, which was it was called a dirty mix. It was like a punk mix of the original Stooges album. But I'll tell you something. Maybe not the original Stooges, like that from 1969, the first album, but that second album, Funhouse, that is so fucking punk. That is the first punk album, man. You listen to Down on the Street and you're like, holy fuck, who was making music like that? And really, if you really want to hear the first truest true punk rock song, if you want to pinpoint on the map when punk rock truly begins, like this idea of what punk rock is, like by Ramones standards and all that, you have to listen to I Gotta Write, 1973, Iggy and the Stooges. James Williamson's guitar riff right there, which the Misfits used to cover. The Misfits would cover I Gotta Write. They covered it in the 70s, and Jerry and Doyle recorded it with Michael Graves in the 90s. I Gotta Write, man, is punk as fuck. Rue, I did see The Dead Don't Die, and Iggy was great in it, but I did not enjoy that movie at all. I hated it, actually. And I like Jim Jarmusch. I just did not enjoy it. I didn't dig it, man. Not gonna lie. All of the Stooges, there's such a wealth of material for the Stooges. It's great. Yeah, Down on the Street. Holy crap. That song is dangerous. Peter says, I hear there's a Samhain version of what? Of I Gotta Write? There's a Samhain version of I Gotta Write. Are you sure about that? Where did you ever hear that? I would kill to fucking hear that. I don't believe it. You know, actually, we could ask fucking Pete. Pete would tell us. Steve would tell us. We'll find that out. We'll settle that right now. I did get to hear a bunch of those early Samhain. So before, when it was just a basement when it was just bedroom recordings, it's just Steve on drums and Glenn on guitar, and it just sounds like hardcore. Before they found the goth sound, very interesting. With just instrumentals with nothing on it. Steve has those tapes. Really interesting to hear. Glenn wrote a tribute in a book for the Stooges. All right, Peter, where are you coming at me with all these deep cuts? This is fucking nuts, man. You're blowing my mind right now with this shit. Pete, you got to post some of this shit in the comments about how he changed the lyrics to I Gotta Write. Pete says about Glenn wrote a tribute in a book about how he changed the lyrics to I Gotta Write, and that there's a Samhain version. Dude, you're blowing my fucking mind right now. I don't believe it, Peter. Peter, I'm not saying that you're a liar, and I'm just saying I can't, like, my mind can't wrap its head around this. Guys, let's wrap this up. I'm like dying. I'm dying. But if you listen, come back next week. Next week will be a special. You know what I'll do, actually? I'll do an intro. He says, I got a right to kill? What? How have I never heard of this before? And they performed it live? I got a right to kill? Was Steve in the band? Did they say what year it was? You wouldn't know if it was Steve or London. Oh, man, I want to know more about that now. Let me finish my independent story, because I'm like never going to stop talking, because I can continue to talk. So Evil Presley and Willie B are the nucleus of this band, the Independents. Some of you know them. They're like horror punk. They're like horror punk, but they're not. They're ska. They're like a ska band. They cover Mother. They do a ska cover of Mother, and As a matter of fact, you can see them on Rock and Roll Cooking, episode 7 at live at Ghouls Night Out with Evil Tequila, it's called, with Salby and Evil getting drunk on tequila. And then Evil and Willie do a cover of Skulls with Steve Zing on bass and Dr. Chud on drums. But I think I'm going to have to take down that episode because there's Dr. Chud in it, unfortunately. I can't have anything Chud related on my page, unfortunately. Probably shouldn't even say that out loud, unfortunately. So, trying to think here. So Evil and Willie B were managed by Joey Ramone. Everybody knows this. Joey Ramone took a liking to the Independents and made them his pet project, like his special band. Like he managed them. He was trying to get them a deal. You know, it's funny. I don't think the Independents ever opened for the Ramones. Maybe they did. You would imagine that Joey would try and get them on tour support for Ramones concerts and whatnot. But yeah, and Joey has ties to the Misfits, even going back to 78. There's a photo shoot with Joey and Jerry. I don't know how well they knew each other, but there was definitely some overlap there during that time. And so through this girl, Natasha, who made clothes for lots of punks, Deborah Harry, fucking Dave Street, Jerry Only, Joey Ramone. And so what Peter is saying, that there was an unreleased version of TVI that was supposed to be on Danzig's Skeletons. Shut up, Peter. Dear Glenn Danzig, fucking release TVI right the fuck now. I gotta hear that shit. Let me finish this story. I'm never going to finish it if I don't tell it. And then in the 90s, there was a lot of ties between the Misfits and there was a bunch of ties between the Misfits and the Independents. Through the Independents, but also through Joey. Joey and Dee Dee were friends with Jerry, and Joey would come out and do songs with the band. Marky too. Marky was around then. Dee Dee and Marky were in a Ramones cover band, the only Ramones to start their own Ramones cover band called Remains. Rue says that the Independents lost all their gear and had a fundraiser, and he had a fundraiser for them back in '94. Joey did. Yeah, Joey loved them. He loved them, and they loved him, and they had a very special friendship. And as a matter of fact, I believe Evil Presley was in the hat for a Danzig replacement for the Misfits in the 90s. He was a contender with a bunch of other people. And there's that famous photo of Evil hanging out wearing a Samhain shirt, hanging out. That's Evil Presley hanging out with Jerry and Doyle. And so there's all these connections. There's all these shared connections. So this is crazy. So Joey realizes that because of the horror rock edge of the Independents, that they need to be touring support for the right kind of band. Now there's one band out there who did so much for up and coming artists. I mean, they would take out, every fucking big band that would burst out and fucking climb the charts, opened for this band. That they were just the coolest band in that way, that they would do this. They would hear a band and they'd be like, this band is fucking great. I'm taking them out on tour, to help them get exposure, to support them. And that's usually what happens. Danzig was a very big band, but never reached the heights that any of the bands that he had open for him on tour. He had Soundgarden, and Soundgarden was way more mainstream than Danzig ever was. Soundgarden and Korn and Marilyn Manson, and who else? Who else opened for Danzig that blew that up? Blew up later. Godsmack or Godflesh, maybe. They're not as well known. But that's what Glenn does. And then later he had the Blackest of the Band, the Blackest of the Black, trying to like highlight those music scenes, those bands. So Glenn takes bands out all the time. And so Joey Ramone calls up Glenn Danzig. That's right. Joey Ramone in the 90s calls up, White Zombie broke through Danzig. All of these bands. Thank you, Peter. I'm going to take a look at the book. Thank you. All of these bands broke through Glenn Danzig. Disturbed. During Satan's Child, Disturbed opened up. Maybe Coal Chamber too, I believe. Coal Chamber as well. Really cool when you think about what Danzig did for mainstream. In a way, he almost was like a tastemaker. He was shaping rock and roll. He was shaping like it's funny. He's kind of shaping the corporate rock entity, or the corporate alternative rock and roll of the 90s by the bands he's taking out on tour. And so Joey Ramone calls up Glenn Danzig and says, "Hey, Glenn," I'm just going to pretend I don't know what really happened in the conversation, but "Hey, Glenn, what's going on? It's me, Joey Ramone." "Hey, Joey, what's going on?" And my voice is hoarse enough for Glenn. "Hey, Joey, what's going on? What can I do for you?" "Hey, Glenn, listen, I got this band called The Independents, and they should open for you on tour." And Glenn was not convinced, or Glenn was not, I don't know. Glenn was not interested, or not interested in the way. But he had one request. And I don't believe that request was honored, as the Independents did never tour with Danzig. But he requested one thing from Joey Ramone that he wanted in exchange for allowing the Independents to go on tour for him. By the way, where did I hear this story? From the Independents. That's how I know this story. I heard this from Evil and Willie B personally. Can I authenticate the story? No, I can't. This is a story. This is third-hand information, second-hand information from the Independents, and who were told this stuff by Joey Ramone himself. Andy likes the voices. All right, Andy, I'm going to keep doing the voices for the next part. "Yeah, Glenn, come on. Hey." No, that's not them. That's Personal and the Pizzas. I had it before. "So, Glenn, what do you think, huh? Maybe we'll let the Independents come on tour with you, you know? I think they'd be really good, you know? They got a similar sort of musical style." I don't know, Joey. I'll tell you what. I will let the Independents come on tour with me in exchange for a pair of your pants from the 70s. That's right. That's correct. Glenn Danzig was only going to let the Independents tour with him in exchange for a pair of Joey Ramone's ripped jeans from the fucking 1970s. And that, like I said, how do you want me to, I'm not telling tall tales. I'm telling third-hand information. I'm the third hand. Independents are second hand. Joey Ramone is first hand. And that's where they ended the story. I don't remember whatever became of that conversation, but that's what Glenn Danzig wanted, a pair of Joey Ramone's pants from the 70s, I guess for Glenn's collection. Glenn does collect things. He collects weird shit. He collects books. Welcome to my book collection. By the way, there is a great cover of Snakes of Christ. There's this guy, Guarcinio Hall, and he has this girl from Baroness. And Pete says he was going to use it for voodoo. Yeah, that's exactly right, man. Glenn was going to use it for voodoo. There's this band called Baroness, and Glenn was going to start his own hard rock cafe. Probably. He had to be fucking with him. Glenn could fit into one pant leg. I don't know, man. I don't fucking know. That's just the way. And if you ever bump into Willie B or Evil, great guys, Evil and Willie B, shout out to you guys. I hope you're well and safe. Good. Don't know what that means. If you ever bump into him, ask him about it. Ask him about that story. Tell him that I said it. I'm just repeating what I remember hearing when I interviewed them. Andy says that would have been a smart business move. Do you know what those pants would be worth today? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's where Glenn was probably coming from. You know, he probably, who knows, man? Definitely after Joey died, they'd be worth a lot today. So there's that. In any case, that's the fucking story. It's absolutely hilarious. This was a lot of fun, you guys. I really needed this. The last couple of days have been crazy. I can't believe I almost didn't do an episode tonight. I was like, man, I can't even get it together. I don't have anything prepared except for Little Fiend. What are we going to talk about? There's plenty to talk about. And, we can always sort of expand the conversation a little bit. It doesn't have to be always strictly 77 to 83 Misfits. It could be things that are in the spirit of that. Glenn trades stuff a lot for comic art, so having stuff like that makes a lot of sense. Peter says he probably traded for comics. So yeah, that's actually true. So two things about Glenn. Glenn, back in the day, used to work comic book conventions. He would sell comics at comic book conventions, pre-Misfits and during the Misfits. And he had a handsome, and we know if there's a great video of Glenn talking about, Glenn is also an art dealer on the side. He goes to very specific sort of niche comic book trade conventions and things and whatever you want to call them, sales, and sells and buys pieces of original art, Jack Kirby art. He's been collecting it for years and years and years. And there's actually a phenomenal, Glenn went on a podcast for original comic book art collecting. And it's a great fucking podcast. It's so illuminating about like the other side of Glenn Danzig outside of music and stuff, into some of his, hobbies that, obviously, it's like Glenn's always done very well for himself. Where does he spend all his fucking money on? Stuff like this. Now he spends his money on very expensive movies. So yeah, so the other thing about is back in the day, he would, he'd be with Bobby would be picking him up. They'd be going somewhere. And he said that Glenn would open up a trunk and pull out a couple of choice comic books that he just had. He had them all bagged and boarded. He'd pull out a couple of choice comic books and sell them for money to get pocket money. That's how he would get pocket money. He did. He was a wheeler and dealer of collectibles of all kinds. You've seen those photos when he sold the brick house up for sale, the Evil Bricks house, the original house that he had in LA. And, there's like a walking tour of like the house as is. And there's the weirdest shit in there. I mean, weird fucking shit. Like, you're like, how could this be? There's some stuff where you're like, holy fuck. Of course, Glenn Danzig would have like a plastic, like, orb, like one of those Tesla orbs with like a thing. But then there's like Disney, there's like all sorts of like sealed toys and like kids toys from the 90s and like Disney princess collection and like monster cereal and like weird phones and weird like mattresses and stuff. Like he has all sorts of crazy shit, So yeah, so that's it. So we're about to, we're 7 minutes from 2 hours. All right, 7 more minutes and then we're done. 7 minutes. We could do this. Okay. Still is. Yeah, he still deals comic book art. Yes, I know. Like, as I said, if you go on YouTube, you can find him talking about some of the pieces in his collection, and he knows a shit ton about this stuff. He's like, has an encyclopedic knowledge of, of comic book art, and comics and things. Yeah, but the Tiny Toons Burger King toys were a little weird. Yeah, he just had weird shit in his house. I don't even know everything that was in there. It was just a bunch of weird shit. There's a funny video. I mean, that place has really become like this. It's like a landmark in LA to go to Glenn Danzig's old house where the bricks used to be. There's the evil bricks in the front yard. That's one thing. There's the you could drive by and see the Jaguar in the driveway. But the funniest thing was there's a video of Fred Armisen and Carrie Bernstein from Portlandia. Carrie's also in the band Slater-Kinney, and Fred used to play in bands. Fred is a huge fan of Danzig. Danzig's a huge fan of Fred. And there's like this video of them driving around the streets of Glenn's old neighborhood, and they're like, they're just like naming, they're sitting in front of Glenn Danzig's old house, just naming Misfit songs to each other. Like, not even singing the Misfit songs, they're just naming the Misfit songs. Rob says there's an enamel pin of his house available. That's amazing. Whoever bought that house could open it up as a tourist attraction. If they were smart, they would buy the house. The house sold for over $1 million. They'd buy the house, and then they would just, open it up as like, Glenn Danzig's evil house. And on Halloween, they would make tons of fucking money. They could turn the whole inside as like an evil attraction. And you got an evil pile of bricks. Man, that would be so funny to put on my front yard. Just a big pile of evil bricks for Halloween. Andy says, he's always had crazy collection of random toys. My girlfriend owns a lot of his toys from the Thrasher magazine. All the He-Man figures and monsters and stuff. Peter says, didn't that singer Beck talk about the bricks? There's a story about the bricks. There's a story about the bricks where Glenn supposedly got into an argument with his neighbor and over when the bricks were going to leave because they were an eyesore, and Glenn picked up the fucking bricks and threw them into a thing. And Crazy Craig, his assistant, says that story is bullshit. It's not true. I like to believe that it's true. But the dialogue, the things that they said Glenn was saying sound kind of fake. It sounds fake. Here I am just throwing my motherfucking bricks into this motherfucking trash, something like that. Andy says that his girlfriend owns a lot of his toys from the Thrasher magazine, all He-Man figures. Yeah, man. You've seen those. That collection is insane. And he was into, as we said earlier in the episode, in case you missed it, he was into like Japanese animation and manga, whatever you call it, like way before anybody was into it. He was into Astro Boy and fucking just all that stuff. That's where the Captain Harlock and Devilman and all that stuff comes from. That obsession with and he would get tapes of that stuff from Japan and just loved that stuff. And it's just interesting because you think in the 70s, you think about American kids who were into Kiss or into whatever. You think about them like being into like Japanese manga anime adaptations. It's kind of crazy. It's like that's like the fringe of the fringe of the fringe at that time. Rob Cooper says, I recall a story about an overzealous stalker who almost managed his way into the house before Glenn's security chased her off. She apparently dropped her bag, which was full of phonography, I think you mean pornography, with pics of Glenn taped onto the bodies. Wow, that's fucking crazy. That is why you need security. Andy says, he made a deal with a major toy collector around 2015 for some very rare My Little Ponies. He made a deal with a major toy collector around 2015 for some very rare My Little Ponies. I can only assume that he wanted the ponies for some comic art. At least I hope so. He could be a brony. Dude, that is so fucking funny. That is so funny, man. Oh my God. That was fucking great. I hope that's true. Where did you hear that, Andy? That's fucking crazy. Glenn likes toys, man. Listen, I like toys. I'll tell you, you know what I miss pulling the trigger? I wish I had pulled the trigger on. I don't collect much of anything, but I wish that I had gotten those Movie Maniacs from Todd McFarlane's toy company. The ultra realistic takes on all those different, like, just like Michael Myers, and just they had everything. They had Pinhead. Those were fucking great. And they even had a Jaws. They had the Crow. They had like a deluxe one, Jaws. And I used to work at Sam Goody in White Plains. And man, we had a nice discount. We had a 35% discount. And I just couldn't be bothered. And now those toys, they go for hundreds of dollars online. And I regret it. I really regret it, man. They had Candyman. Oh, so many good ones. I wish they would bring that back in a big bad way. Peter says, I read that in Music Leaves the Stains. This Music Leaves Stains is a book written by James Green Jr., who spoke to many of the same people that I spoke to, although I spoke to a lot more than he did. But he, I don't know. I don't know much about it. I never read the book. I don't have anything negative to say about it. I don't have anything positive to say about it. I know Steve Zing has said many times that book is bullshit and that he thinks it's not done very well and yada, yada, yada. So I don't know. I don't know anything about it. Again, I don't want to disparage James or his book. As a fellow person trying to release a commercial Misfits related project is very fucking hard to do. So, if you're looking for something Misfits oriented to read, pick up This Music Leaves Stains. I'm sure I've heard it's a very fast, fun read. Check it out. Andy says, I know the guy he did the deal with. It was a high 5-figure My Little Pony deal. High 5 figures. 5 figures. What's 5 figures? 5 figures is, wow. So 5 figures is anything from $10,000 to $99,000. It's crazy. Yeah, there was a Blair Witch one, which was weird because we never know what the Blair Witch looked like, but they showed us what she looked like, and that was just weird. The doll was better than the movie. John says, back in 1979, WNJU Channel 47 out of New York used to have a Japanese night on Saturday nights, sponsored by Nippon. They showed Captain Harlock, Cyborg 009 Galaxy Express, all in Japanese, subtitled. I'm sure Glenn was watching. John, I think you just hit the fucking nail on the head. Of course he was fucking watching. Of course he was. That's how it happened, man. That's how he got it. And with that, we have hit 2 hours flat. 2 hours and 1 minute. So I know it says 2:06 on here, but I started recording at 2:01. I am fucking exhausted. I thought this was going to be an hour episode. Thanks for keeping me busy, guys. You are fucking great, all of you. I'll see you next week. Listen, next week will be a live show, but there's going to be a pre-recorded element. You better fucking buckle in. I have a feeling next week's episode is going to be like 4 hours fucking long. It's going to be super duper fucking long. Okay. So check it out.